Who all spoken out in defense of Nick in a recap? I went over it, but let me give you a quick recap. So a lot of the Flashcast people did Yellow Flash, Tug, that Star Wars girl, myself, right? A lot of people who are part of the Flashcast crew, they spoke up. Drex spoke up. Runkle spoke up. Emily D. Baker spoke up. Jeff spoke up. Joe spoke up. John Diaz said, bro, even Joe dragged himself out of bed to do a stream with Farron as long as he could. We're all rallying. Bro, Joe is dying. Joe Neerman, this Hebrew is dying of fucking COVID, right? He's not actually dying, guys. It's a fucking joke. He has COVID, right? Joe Neerman has COVID. We normally stream every Thursday, so hopefully he's better. He can stream with me tomorrow. But he dragged himself out to stream on this. So, shout out to him for doing that. Shout out to him for rallying. Like, I really fucking appreciate that. And that's a real fucking soldier.
Ladies and gentlemen, though, I want to welcome a very dear friend of mine, a very sick friend of mine, but he is jumping on here because he is the one, the only, the guy that you always see just before Nick Rekieta, the wonderful, amazing, good logic. Joe, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too.
How you feeling?
I'm awful.
Oh,
You don't sound good.
Right. This is so evil. It is so evil how they're so
unpersoning.
And it's not just unpersoning. It's that it's like, okay. There's YouTube knows that he's being mass flagged. Okay. They know that they see the mass flag happening. Okay. So, and they recognized that there's this campaign to basically get him knocked off. So how is that not itself harassment? And instead of actually looking at Nick as being like a victim of harassment and trying to punish the people who are doing the harassing, they're actually giving into it and saying, oh, okay, you know what? Well, you're mass flagged, and you know what? We're gonna listen to you. You're actually rewarding people who are violating the terms of service.
Would they look into it if the exact same thing were happening to this Keffels person? You know what I mean? Like, do they?
Barnes came through big. A shout out to one of the OGs here, Robert Barnes, right? This is a fucking shout out to Robert Barnes. So Robert Barnes has actually been a G. He has been a fucking G with this. I got to give a special shout out to Bobby Barnes. To Bobby Barnes. He has been a G today. Look at him retweeting Adam Krigler. Look at this. Retweeting Joe Neerman. Shout out to Joe Neerman. Joe Neerman also backing him up. And by the way, Joe was retweeting me. So this whole fucking day, Robert Barnes has been retweeting everybody. That umbrella guy, Andy Signori, right? Shout out to Andy. Ryan Kennel. Shout out to Ryan, right? All fucking day he's been doing this. So I want to give a shout to him. Retweeting Viva. Shout out to Viva. That's his partner in crime there, right? Viva came through big. Barnes was on top of it. Barnes was out there. So I want to give a special shout out to fucking Barnes. He retweeted everything on this. He's been a fucking gangster this whole day. Yo, if you guys retweet these messages, you retweet it to Team YouTube, that goes so far. This is the difference between the real ones and the fake ones. Nate the lawyer came through big. Jack Pasibic came through big. Fucking Tim Pool, the beanie chicken man, the fence center extraordinaire came through for Rekieta. So let's listen to this. The beanie man came through for Nick Rekieta. Listen to this piece. I couldn't believe that this is like a live shout out by Tim Pool, but watch this.
We got word that Nick Rekieta Law's channel on YouTube was totally nuked, is completely gone. He was previously removed from Twitter. So I just want to say I'm calling BS. I don't know exactly what happened, but they're saying he violated the YouTube terms of service, community guidelines or whatever. And I don't know exactly why, but I think it's mass flagging. Apparently people are they were complaining about him, trying to get him disbarred. So we'll learn more about that as time goes on. But Nick's a cool dude. He does excellent legal commentary. So I just want to shout this out because I'm calling BS on this. I don't think it's legitimate. And my immediate assumption, though this is just happening right now. My assumption is mass flagging resulted in an algorithmic takedown of his channel. So we'll see, and we'll look more into this as the show goes on.
So there you go. So even the beanie, like what I'm saying is like, I'm not asking for much, but when Tim Pool is willing to come and stick his dick out for Nick, like the least you can do is make some comments. The least you can do is, support people, share it out. Ron Coleman came through. Thank you. That's another one. Ron Coleman came through. Attorney Tom even came through. Even Attorney Tom stood with Nick. At 5 feet tall, he stood with Nick. So that's some respect. That's some respect. Rob from Law and Lumber mentioned it on a stream.
To Nick's channel, I will raise a toast. Nick, may you be back on YouTube soon.
Yep.
May the accusers face more skepticism than they did in Salem. And I hope to see you again soon, buddy. Soon. You'll be back.
Oh, also Camelot. Yeah, Camelot's on Flashcast. So 331. Hayden. Yeah, Hayden came down. Hayden came through. Quartering. Yeah, Quartering came through. Farron came through. Uncivil came through. And Uncivil gave a big dono. $100 dono.
We left off the show yesterday with some really troubling news. And actually, when I said I was sad on the show yesterday, I really meant that. But Nick Rekieta, he obviously lost his channel. The chat sort of caught wind of that as it happened in real time. Apparently, he was live streaming. Same time we were live streaming, and boom, evaporated right in the middle of the stream. But as I said on the show yesterday, I really wanted to encourage everybody to go follow him and get the updates from him. He did provide an update yesterday, so he seems like he's doing all right. He was over on Rumble. And, if you're not familiar with Nick Rekieta, he's, like I said yesterday, I think he's a very sharp guy. I think he's got very good insight on a lot of what's happening in the world, the current state of the world. I think he sees things very clearly. He's articulate. He provides very good insight on, new ideas. I think he's a very talented guy, very smart, and impressive what he's built and what he's done. He's been the pioneer in many ways on some of this, trial coverage. Like he covered, Kyle Rittenhouse, the whole thing live. I think he was kind of the first one to sort of take that bite. And so, this is a big deal, and it does make me sad. It's like, what a joke. There's people who want to expose and shine sunlight and debate ideas. And then there's other people on the side of darkness who just want to censor and silence and shut everybody up. But my understanding is he got brigaded, which is where there's a whole group of people from, let's say, an opposing channel, maybe of equal or bigger size, and they all get mad and they all, jump in chats and they all say, we're going to go flag somebody's video and take them out. So it's almost like digital warfare. They'll flag a video, they'll say it's community service guideline violations, and they'll try to take out their opponents and silence them. I've seen it where the bots will automatically strike something and then it comes back. So I'm really, crossing my fingers for Nick that is what happens here. But if not, I support Nick. I'll do whatever I can to help him, help his audience know where he's moved to and what happened, and get them to reconnect with him. He was on Rumble last night and he had a big audience. Something like 20,000 people were live over there. And he seems like he's doing okay. He's, I think, a real resilient person. He's been through ups and downs. Obviously, he's sort of a soldier, a warrior in this space. And he, I think, has the resilience to figure this out. And I was thinking of that quote, "If you strike me down, you have no idea how strong I'll become." And I think that's going to be the truth on a lot of this, because people want freedom. They want free speech. They want free ideas. They want free thought.
For you to take me down because you don't like what I'm doing, and you do the same thing to Nick, you do the same thing to anybody else, you're going to turn yourself into YouTube echo chamber, and you can all fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. And, Joshua, you're saying Nick is why you guys are here. I don't know about you guys, but for me, yeah. I watched Nick do the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. I also watched Viva Fry. I'm like, I could do this. I think it'd be fun. I enjoyed when I'm at like a wedding or even like a funerals, whatever. It's like, oh, what do? I do criminal defense. I love talking about my job. A lot of attorneys don't like getting asked like, hey, can I ask you a question? I don't mind being asked questions. I like what I do enough that I'm willing to talk about it all the time. So yeah, he did inspire me to be here. And I'm not going to lie, like when he invited me on and I was only 800 subs, that was like the coolest fucking thing in the world to me. I was like, oh my God, I get to go on. Like I'm on in the prime time in the big leagues with this guy I've watched all the time. It was so neat. And it was, we were on for almost 4 hours, and I got pretty wasted, but it was still so cool.
That's
So,
how
yes,
I
he
feel
is-
being able to come up on shows like you guys. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like I'm just a small little tiny
Mhm.
little channel that, you know,
Yeah.
is sitting there trying to make something, figuring,
Yeah.
if Nick Rekieta can do it, everybody can.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to echo these statements. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, like I started by watching these other like live streams, and then eventually Nick was on one of them. And I was like, this seems like an interesting guy. Let me hear more about him. He's drinking whiskey. He was doing it out of his own like laws. I think it was like 5,000. I think like a 5,000 subscriber sort of thing. And he exploded so quickly, so that's like a long time ago, but still very
huge.
great. But like it was just this regular guy that was having a laugh. He would tell jokes, like good jokes, not safe jokes. I hate these fucking safe jokes, right? But he would tell it like it is. He's just a regular guy, right? And you know, and it's just like if you're working a late job or you're in a weird time zone, you can get lonely, and you can just put on these streams, listen to the background, and you feel like you're just laughing with your friends. That's why I love Rekieta's stream. It literally just sounds like he's gonna be chatting with one of the boys. And I have to say I have to thank Nick for a lot of stuff, because he mentioned my channel once and I instantly gained like 1,000 subscribers. Like,
oh yeah,
he is a force for good.
He got me over when I was on that show. I started with like 800 and something, and by the time I was done, I had like 2,000, and I got over the bump. By that point, I had streamed enough trials, though. I had been like, as soon as he did that, I was like into the monetization game. Like, he got me over the hump. That got me over like 1,000. That gets you more views. That gets you from there. And he's invited me on so many other times. And, you know, he's gotten to the point where he's like, hey, here's my number if you ever need to get a hold of me for anything. So he's a good dude. Very good guy. So, guys, remember, until next time. No, actually, before we get too far, remember, free Nick Rekieta, fuck Keffels, fuck Duncan, fuck Gayfesh, fuck everybody, fuck YouTube. And then remember, until next time, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. See Nick tonight on Rumble. He'd appreciate you stopping by.
All right. I'm just going to get right to it. Nick Rekieta. You know him, you love him. I certainly do. I actually joined him last night on his late night podcast, and it was a lot of fun. Laughed my ass off every single time I join him. Well, it turns out he has been banned completely off of YouTube. I'm going to show you right now because I'd like you to go support him there. If this is where he actually requests people go and support him. RekietaLaw.locals.com. You can see it right there at the top of the screen. RekietaLaw.locals.com. You can go there. Locals is great. I'm still gathering information about this, but yes, my YouTube channel has been deleted at present. I have not been given any specific reason. My partner manager is working on this, and it has been escalated way up the chain, which is good to know. I am asking people to make sure and share my multiple channels, Rumble, Odyssey. Here is his Rumble page. It's rumble.com/c/Rekieta Law. So it's all Rekieta Law. Very easy to find him. And I would love to have him on my show. Nick, of course, you are always welcome on my show.
So honestly, once again, what you should do is go to those creators, go to the creators that supported Nick and support them. If you like Nick, support them. Throw them a chat. Say, hey, thanks for supporting Nick. I appreciate what you did for Nick. I appreciate you retweeting. I appreciate you talking about that. I will name the people who haven't spoken up.
We got one more here. Do with it what you will. Since Rekieta helped build the Alita's channel during Rittenhouse and pre-Dep, Alita, when are you going to make a video defending Nick?
I talked about him yesterday. I will say, I see it in the chat. I've seen folks on Twitter and in DMs and stuff. Folks are talking about Nick Rekieta. I know that's a really, really big subject. And of course, I wanted to talk about it at the top of the hour here because it's something that affects potentially all of us, right? Like all of us have spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears building our channels. We obviously care about continuing our channels, and we collaborate a ton as well. And so we're kind of part of this overall community, right? Whether you want to call it LawTube or not, that's disputed. Nick Rekieta disputes that himself.
My legal colleagues on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things that is definitely of concern. it happened when I was like, I don't know, maybe 4 a.m. for me or something. I woke up to a bunch of text messages and DMs and tags on Twitter and stuff talking about how Nick Rekieta got banned off of YouTube. And I know that he had been operating off of 2 strikes. So I know that he was vulnerable in that regard to a 3rd strike before those previous strikes would clear. Now, and if I'm not mistaken, those can clear over time, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I knew that was something that he was vulnerable to, and it's not just me. Everyone knew that. Nick knew that. He knows very well how the terms of service operate on this channel and on every channel. These platforms give themselves a very wide breadth to operate. They basically are allowed to, by their terms, which of course they drafted for themselves, to get rid of someone for pretty much any reason, so long as someone finds them offensive. It's built into the terms of service. It's built into Section 230.
Including themselves, generally speaking. Yeah. YouTube can go and decide that they don't want to be in business with you. And that's the nature of being on these platforms. Definitely.
Yeah. Now, whether we like it or not, it doesn't matter to YouTube. But I don't like
it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't like arbitrary and capricious. I don't like the fact that when people can just do things on a whim in contract or government, you don't really like it when the other party can just do anything they want at any time for any reason. It's like, what kind of a contract do we have then? It's illusory, and it's a existential threat, as you pointed out, to all of us, because Nick had how many subscribers when he was deleted? 500,000?
Something like that. It was like 480.
Something like that. I mean, and so if it can happen to him, it can happen to us. And unfortunately, Nick has landed at least on his feet for the moment, because he seems to have been able to bring his audience over to Rumble and Locals, for example. So he'll continue doing his thing. So he at least seems to be okay in the short term. But I know for me, having gone through my own channel deletion when the crypto people hijacked my channel, like for me, it's much more of an existential threat, because I don't currently have those things in place. And so looking at this capricious treatment by YouTube, where I think all the strikes are on flimsy grounds, then it's very sort of troubling.
I can't commit to it one way or the other on the details of whether YouTube strikes are justified or not. What I can say is that YouTube is a mercurial actor, and probably didn't tell Nick, and certainly didn't tell me, or didn't tell you probably when it was abducted by crypto agents, exactly what was happening or why.
No, they did not.
It can be very, very frustrating. And I suspect Nick doesn't have the detailed info as to what even the first 2 strikes were about. So I think that that's a problem. I will say, in terms of the commentary, right? I'm a lawyer by trade. I'm a pragmatist. I'm a wet blanket, depending on who you ask. Hi, Chad. I see you. And I don't know what the background of this is. Certainly, I have seen my colleagues, not calling out Nick specifically, but I've seen colleagues on YouTube say some things that I think are probably going to get them in trouble with YouTube in the past. And I don't know what, if anything, Nick did on this topic. But I do think that we are entering into an era where you can have essentially targeted mass campaigns against people that you don't like, and that's a potential problem. So I think we can all agree that it is uncomfortable to be beholden to a third party that, even if we're giving YouTube the benefit of the doubt, probably acted at least a little bit robotically. Got a certain amount of tags. It was the 3rd strike within the 90 days, and bing, bang, boom, you're gone. And that's a little bit difficult to invest in. Now, I've told people, I think I've probably told you offline, Kurt, that all of these platforms do what they want. And if they think that you're no longer good for their business, they will yeet you. This is a term I learned from Emily D. Baker. As soon as possible. I'm just that hip, folks. It's that drip that you're so excited to see once again. And I think people need to know that. And I think certainly Nick did know that. So I don't know. My instinct here is that I don't know that he's going to come back to YouTube. I don't know that YouTube will restore him. And I think That's a shame. And we'll have to see how it goes. But I don't expect that we'll get any better information from anybody. I think you'll have a bunch of people claiming the corpse, and I think you'll have YouTube basically ignoring it. And I think you'll have a good reason to have multiple platforms if you're a content creator, and to visit multiple platforms if you're a fan. And I don't know that that's a bad thing, because I think being beholden to one of these platforms is a bad idea. But I certainly think the rapidity, the speediness, the alacrity that you can lose however many years Nick or anyone else was working on what had to be at that level of popularity, their livelihood, their primary income, is scary. And that's basically all I got to say on that, because we don't have any more details.
Yeah. I'll just say that I completely agree. I think that and the one thing that I would add to that is the part that really concerns me is the idea that if it was mass flagging, I don't know what the mass flagging was for. I haven't been paying attention to his channel for a bit, so I don't know what kind of
create content. I said this on my show earlier this morning. We are on here so much, we don't get a chance to see each other if we're not directly collabing as often as you might think.
Right, exactly. So, I try to pop into people's content every once in a while to see what everybody else is doing, what they're talking about, and see what I can learn from everyone else, quite frankly. But I don't know what he's been talking about on his channel, so I don't know what the prior strikes are for. I don't know what the mass flagging is for. Personally, the idea of mass flagging feels wrong to me, because it feels like mob rule. And so I don't like that, because I do feel strongly about the idea that we need to be able to be willing to have all kinds of different voices present in our conversation when we are having open and honest dialogue. So being willing to be uncomfortable and offended, quite frankly, so that you can arrive at the truth. Sometimes the truth is offensive. We know this as lawyers.
Nick only called me like 30 or 50 names that I heard of. So, I mean, I don't know.
No.
Nick is his own character.
Yeah.
Nick is my friend, and I'm going to assume that he's in the right until someone proves to me otherwise, because I, as you guys well know, see YouTube and how they act, and they can act in very sort of, as Rick pointed out, arbitrary and mercurial and robotic ways, I believe was Rick's terminology. And there is that problem. And I also know that Nick himself is generally and genuinely a good person. I've spent some time with him. I've speak to him from time to time. And I know that he's a person who is well informed and has a style that works for him and his audience, because I mean, you don't get to 500,000 subscribers without it being something that some people appreciate it. And he can be something that's not to everyone's taste. I understand completely, but he should be allowed to be on the internet and have his voice, and we all should, as far as I'm concerned. If you don't like Nick, not watching him is always an option.
Yeah.
But
you're gonna make me defend YouTube.
He should be allowed to be he should be allowed to be there for the people who want to see them. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, you're gonna make me defend YouTube because you say the internet. I don't think Nick's been kicked off the internet, nor should he be. But I mean, YouTube gets to select what it wants to do with its platform. No.
Well, not if Texas has its way, but that's another topic for another time, maybe. And for what it's worth, Rakita Media is based in Texas, so he's got that going for him.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of hope for that Fifth Circuit opinion.
Well, I reviewed it and I thought it was really, really good, personally.
Oh.
Alita's lackluster response isn't enough for what Rackets did for a shout out to Uncivil Law for actually defending Rackets and Hogue Law, and YouTube and Alita's live yesterday certified unbreaded.
Girl, you know that I need you, and your nigga can't do nothing for you. These hoes ain't loyal.
Bro, I got his back. And the thing is, the fucking pussy ass bitches who aren't your friends whenever something happens, they don't have your back. And I'm gonna say it because none of these other content creators are gonna say it. Fuck everybody who calls themselves, I'm saying it right now, put my money on this right now, put my fucking money on this. Anybody who is in LawTube or calls themselves in LawTube, particularly those that came on Nick's show, that streamed with him, that were there grifting off him, particularly back in the day, particularly if they were during the Rittenhouse era, or maybe they just became famous and popped off during the era of Amber Heard. Doesn't fucking matter. Anybody who came on that stream, who came on his platform, they grew their channels, they grew relatively big, right? And if they are not covering this, if they're not supporting him, they are full of shit. You should unsubscribe from them. I'm going to say it. You should goddamn unsubscribe. I'm sorry. That's my personal opinion. I'm not going to fucking hold back. All these other people, they're like, oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to anger the fucking communist cabal that's going on here. No, I don't give a fuck. If they are not supporting him right now, this is it. This is do or die, motherfuckers. When somebody's deleted off of YouTube, you have to say something. If you're not saying something, you're a goddamn pussy. You're a fucking Judas Iscariot. Okay? And you might as well go join the fucking Troons and Chris Boozy if you're not supporting him right now. Just hands down. I'm saying it, right? These other pussy motherfuckers, they're not going to say it. That's fine. You know why? Because they're too afraid. They're too scared to speak up because they're afraid of getting canceled. They're afraid of their sponsors. They're afraid of their fucking gentle Amber Heard supporters or whoever else was on their channel right now. Oh, they're going to get upset. They're going to get angry. I can't say anything to anger the Troons. No, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I'm pissed off about this. I'm going to tell you how I really feel. Get the fuck out of here. You guys are fucking traitors. You're fucking out. I'm done. If you're a person who was helped out by Nick, who Nick supported you, he backed you up, and you don't have his back, fuck you. You're out.